welcome to my how to build a pencil shelf out of an old package tutorial. I had this idea for a pencil shelf when I saw an old shoebox which was out of a very nice material and very firm cardboard. I didn't want to throw it away and thought, what could I make out of this? A lot of artists have these pencil shelves on their desks at the moment. It is actually a pretty easy construct and I wanted to try it out with this nice shoebox. This is the prototype I built out of the old shoebox. It already looked pretty much how I wanted it to look, but when I placed the pencils inside, I realized that the angles were not steep enough, and that caused the pencils to reach outwards quite a lot. I will now cut up the cardboard for my real pencil shelf. I have the measurements written down in the description box as well as the chapters for this video. You can also find a downloadable print of a slightly smaller version of this. You can simply print out the paper and then cut out the stencils and use it however you like. Let's start creating. The very first thing you want to do is draw the sketch or the stencil of your pieces onto the cardboard. I used a thick black Sharpie for this, and I also highly recommend using a cutter instead of scissors. With scissors, you need to constantly have the cardboard in your hand, and the risk of bending it and creating predetermined breaking points is just very high with this method. So I recommend using a cutter. You will also be more precise than with scissors with this thick paper material. You should have a cutting mat under your workplace. If you don't have a cutting mat, simply stack up 3 to 4 layers of cardboard on top of each other, and I really highly recommend doing this on top of a rug and not your beautiful hardwood floor. I gotta be honest, I almost cut myself in the leg one time, so if you have a workstation, that would be the preferable and safer method of working. I can't wait for the time when I have a real workstation. Right now I only have my desk, and I'd really love some place where I can safely do things like this. Maybe do some woodworking. I'd love to get into woodworking. The nice thing about working with cardboard is that as soon as you have one cut down, usually your cutter doesn't stray from the cut. So it is possible, if you don't have a metal ruler, to cut by hand. If you want to use a normal ruler, please don't use your finest one, because with a cutter or scissors you will cut your ruler if it isn't made out of steel. You can very carefully follow the line you created, and then you won't need a ruler at all. Yep, that's looking very safe, Francis. Good job. So I just kept cutting and cut out all of the pieces we will need for the little shelf. As soon as I had cut out all of them, I assembled it once and made sure there weren't any quirks or pieces I needed to adjust. And in fact, there was one piece for the shelving that stuck out a bit too much and made it very hard to assemble. Assembling it before painting it is always a good idea. And I did indeed want to paint it, of course. I started to create a white foundation for all of the pieces, because only part of the cardboard I used was white from the very beginning. That is also one of my tips for you. Use white cardboard if you have it. Some companies send out white packages, and I would prefer these to the brown cardboard, simply because you can skip the very time-intensive step of having a white foundation. When you are painting on your cardboard, and also when you are doing your foundation, make sure that you don't use too much water. You want to have a tissue close by where you can regularly wet your brush but then dry it again. Otherwise your cardboard will act like a sponge and have too much water in it, and then it will also bend and lose its form, which we put so much effort into creating. That would be a shame. The good thing about having so many pieces to paint is that you can paint and paint and paint. Something is always dry while the other ones are still drying. I started to put down this beige color. I decided to use it because I thought it was very universal and I wanted to have 2 to 3 colors in my construct. The second color would be this dusty blue. Both of these acrylic colors are fully opaque and I prefer these to the half opaque ones by a landslide. I tried introducing this half opaque green and I hated it, not only because it was half opaque but also because I thought it looked pretty ugly in combination with these other colors. So I quickly acted like it never happened and painted it over with this blue. And let me tell you, it takes quite some time to paint all your pieces. You want to have a good TV show ready or watch some YouTube while you're doing this. I watched a nature documentary and then the time should pass much faster. Hello, it is the next day and I painted all of the tiles we will need. So let's try to build a pen holder. You want to look for the one that seems the most stable, actually 2 of them, and use these for the sides. And you want to push at a point where you won't break anything. You might also want to pull at the top. Okay, next up is the bottom. You want to push down evenly and also stabilize the middle sections. Just be very gentle because it is only paper or cardboard. Now we are ready to place the shelves in there. Okay, and last but not least, let's place the top on there. Alright, we got our little rack. Woo! This worked out just as I imagined it. It looks cute, it looks rustic. You need to fix the edges so that you can't see it is cardboard, but all in all, I really like it. I like it quite much and I'm going to place some pens in it now. There is so much space. They are all in there already. It's great. In both of these is now a Tombow brush pen, and you can see how much more it sticks out into your workspace. This one is more secure also in its position. This shelf is at an angle of 67 degrees and this shelf is placed at an angle of 60 degrees. These 7 degrees really make quite a difference and you want to be careful when placing your shelving. I actually liked the prototype more, but I guess because it is black, I shouldn't have painted this blue. I don't like it. I could just paint over it, but I don't want to because I'm lazy and I want to try other things. Some final thoughts. You want to be careful to get your measurements right, especially the ones where you create small gaps for the connecting pieces. Those gaps should have the exact same size, otherwise it will be a loft. You also want to paint the edges. I forgot. Deep down I knew I should paint the edges, but I was too lazy, so I didn't. You should paint your edges and make sure that you cannot see that it is cardboard. If you have a hot glue gun, you can create a flat layer of glue that you can paint over as soon as it is dry. You could also try to go in with your acrylics directly. You can try to decorate your edges with, for example, some kind of cord that you glue on there. It would look cute as well. You will need quite a lot of paint to paint your shelf, so make sure you got that. For the cardboard, it is a pretty stable construction. I believe you could have half the thickness of cardboard and it would still be okay. I highly recommend using a cutter and not scissors, because otherwise you will maybe bend the cardboard. As I said, I am really impressed at how stable this construction is. I can place so many things inside. There is so much space. Still, I don't think I'm going to use it. I know you are supposed to store all your brush pens as well as your fine liners horizontally, and I don't want to risk them drying up on me. You really want to store your equipment right. If you created a shelf like this, please let me know. I am on Instagram as well, at loveofmylife.art. I'd love to see your creation. I really hope you have fun and enjoyed watching. If you did, I'd love for you to subscribe for more fun projects and can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye!